It's midnight. Giant cacti stand like silent sentries, distinctive symbols of the Arizona desert. They are called saguaros. The desert comes to life after dark beneath the saguaro. Many animals which avoid the heat of the day are active at night. The kangaroo rat only wakes as the moon rises. In its nocturnal search for food, it may come across a scorpion or perhaps a rival male. Male tarantulas wander in the dim light after sunset, searching for a mate. They hide by day in abandoned holes or under stones. These spiders are actually reluctant to bite humans, and their venom is usually no more poisonous than a bee's. The banded gecko spends the day in rock crevices and comes out at night to feed on insects. The sidewinder, a rough-scaled rattlesnake, gets its name from the way it moves, traveling quickly over shifting sand. Soon it will be sunrise, and the nocturnal creatures will return to cover before the full force of the sun's rays beat down from a cloudless sky. This is one of the hottest and driest regions of North America. Whatever lives here must adapt to the heat or avoid it. The saguaro is no exception. The saguaro is perhaps the supreme symbol of the American Southwest. It is host to a wide variety of animals. The Gila woodpecker has pecked out a series of nest holes, which other birds take advantage of afterwards. A starling finds an old hole and fills it up with nesting material. One advantage of living in a saguaro is that the spongy flesh remains cool by day and retains some of its heat into the cold desert night. Woodpeckers make a hole a meter deep, while the English sparrow uses a much smaller hole. Holes don't remain empty for long. Starlings are quick to make use of them. The cactus wren compensates for its lack of size with a harsh, repetitious call. A saguaro like this can weigh 8 tons and may be 150 years old. It dwarfs every other living thing in the desert. It is designed to store and conserve every precious drop of water. It has no leaves which lose water by transpiration, and its body is formed of accordion-like pleats which can expand to absorb water collected through its roots. One saguaro can produce as many as 40 million seeds in its lifetime of 175 to 200 years. Of all these seeds, very few will survive to adulthood. Animals eat the seeds, lightning and winds kill large saguaros, and severe droughts can weaken them. Freezing temperatures and the loss of habitat of its main pollinator, the long-nosed bat, all take a toll on the saguaro's survival. Smaller cacti employ the same mechanisms for survival. Their spines deter birds and animals from eating them. The barbed hooks of the jumping cholla are particularly sharp. Its segments or joints are easily detached when they're touched and cling to the coat or skin of passing animals. The cactus wren is the largest North American wren and is common in cactus country. It is aptly named and uses its bulky nest tucked in the protective spines of the teddy bear choya for roosting as well as nesting. It seems remarkable that birds nesting deep within the spines are not injured by them. Rain clouds build up over the Arizona desert for only a few months of the year. The saguaro is well equipped to take advantage of the water promised by a blackening sky. It has a network of roots that lie only 7 centimeters below ground, but stretch over an area as wide as the cactus is tall. In a single rainstorm, these shallow roots, together with special small root hairs that grow in response to moisture, can soak up 100 liters of water, enough to last the saguaro a year. Spongy flesh in the trunk and branches serves as a reservoir where water is stored, and its waxy skin helps prevent the precious moisture from being lost. After so long without water, the desert absorbs rain from the storm clouds like a sponge. The water has vanished to give new life to the plants and animals of the desert. The desert bloom depends on the winter rains, and in a good year, the sand is splashed with vibrant color. Yellow brittlebrush carpets the desert. Scarlet cactus flowers burst out among the barren rocks. Bright yellow desert gold poppies may withstand the burning sunlight for a week or more. The flowers must all attract their pollinators, birds, bees, and bats. These unusual flowers are yuccas. Many yuccas' blossoms are pollinated by a moth, which also lays its eggs inside them. The ocotillo, with its tight clusters of red flowers, only produces leaves after rain, and they wither when the soil dries. The sky is clear again, and the rain has passed. Saguaro flowers open at night and die by the next afternoon. Their main pollinator, the long-nosed bat, must find their rich, creamy blossoms, feed on the nectar, and carry pollen from flower to flower at night. By day, the Gila woodpecker and the thresher feed on the saguaro's store of nectar, and in feeding also pollinate it. The descendants of English house sparrows brought to Arizona by the early settlers join in. Wherever rocks have collected a little rainwater, there's a miniature waterhole used by antelope ground squirrels and a great variety of desert birds. Gambel's quails come to quench their thirst. The rainstorms sometimes tempt the larger desert creatures to stay out in the early morning sunlight instead of returning to their cool dens in the hills. Surprisingly, a desert is a good place for many large animals. Mountain lions often escape the persecution they suffer in more populated areas. But they have to adapt themselves to desert conditions. They need to keep cool and have frequent access to water. The peccary, a relative of the wild pig, is also active in the early morning. It thrives in saguaro country and eats cactus, which provides it with water as well as food. The coati mundi colonized Arizona from Mexico. Coatis are active during the day, feeding on anything from berries and mice to lizards and insects. Unfortunately for the coati, the peccary arrived first. Coatis are skillful tree climbers. Its long, upright tail equals its body length, and though helpful as a balance, it is not prehensile and cannot be used to grasp. Down below, there's shade and moisture for the peccary. The bobcat usually lies up by day in a rock cleft, finding its food, mostly cottontails, mice and squirrels, by hunting as it travels at night. Normally active late in the day and at night in the hot summer months, the rattlesnake comes to drink before the day heats up too much. When it has quenched its thirst, it will spend the day in the shade of a rock. This snake is capable of delivering a deadly bite. Many creatures show specific adaptations to the heat. Birds have to care for their young, but their presence attracts predators. The curved-bill threshers have nested among the spines of a formidable teddy bear choya, but it doesn't prevent a red racer from trying to raid their nest. It isn't a poisonous snake, but it is agile and a good climber. The threshers are equally vigorous in defense of their young. At midday in the Arizona desert, the sun beats down at well over 35 degrees centigrade. Most creatures rest in the shade at this time of day, and the giant saguaros stand like sentinels in the hot sand. Later on, Gambel's quails, the commonest of the desert game birds, emerged to feed on seeds on the desert floor. They probably account for a lot of the seeds the saguaro produces in its lifetime. The Gila monster is one of only 2 poisonous lizards in America. It's large, heavy-bodied, and grows to about 60 centimeters. It kills its prey by chewing with its back teeth and letting powerful venom mix with its saliva. It will take eggs, which it cracks by pushing them around rather than by crushing. Adaptations which help the antelope ground squirrel survive here include its pale coloration, which blends with the arid environment, and the fact that it can metabolize water from the seeds it eats. The desert tortoise is an endangered species. It feeds on grass and flowering plants in the early morning and late afternoon. During the midday heat, it will retreat to a shallow burrow. The collared lizard is diurnal. It feeds on insects and other lizards and gets a lot of moisture from its prey. At the hottest part of the day, the desert appears lifeless. The birds have retreated from the heat to their holes in the saguaro. Well insulated by their thick walls, it can be as much as 10 degrees centigrade cooler than the temperature outside. The fringe-toed lizard burrows into the sand to avoid the heat. A young coyote rests in the shade of a palo verde tree. The adult coyote loses heat by stretching out and increasing her surface area, and also by panting. The ring-tailed cat is an accomplished climber. It's a desert relative of the raccoon. Its scientific name means clever little fox. Birds are able to withstand extreme heat better than mammals. Their normal body temperatures are far higher. Their feathers make good insulation, and flying keeps them cool. If there's any water to bathe in, they're well equipped to find it. By late afternoon, insects become more active, which is fortunate for the birds feeding their hungry young. However, most birds know better than to catch a pinacate beetle. When threatened, it upends and shoots a foul-smelling gas at its attacker. Insects are some of the most important members of the desert community. Without their constant activity, many of the cacti would never be pollinated. Reptiles as well as birds would go short of food. The ground-dwelling insects even play a part in irrigating the parched soil. The tarantula wasp hunts out spiders and paralyzes them with a sting, then lays an egg on their still living bodies. When the egg hatches, the infant wasp has a tarantula to feed on. The search for a tarantula involves a good deal of soil excavation. Desert insects make use of the prickly cholla cactus, even when it's dead. This piece of perforated wood is the decayed limb of a fallen cholla. It's being examined by a Palo Verde wood-boring beetle. The cholla offers it an ideal habitat. Their hard chitinous casing is what protects desert insects from losing body moisture in the sun. No desert is without ants. This winged ant colony plays its part in soil irrigation by digging underground passageways. The ants also provide a food source for one of the desert's most unusual reptiles. The horned lizard's cryptic coloration enables it to blend in with the background and catch the unwary ants. It has a flat body and a head crowned by large, close-set spines. Horned lizards are most active in the early morning and again just before sunset. Its camouflage is almost perfect. Lizards, scorpions and snakes are the roadrunner's quarry. It much prefers to speed across the desert on its long legs rather than fly. The roadrunner is actually a large ground-dwelling species of cuckoo. Snakes, even a venomous sidewinder rattlesnake, try to avoid being caught in the open by the roadrunner, which has lightning-sharp reflexes when it comes to hunting prey. The unfortunate sidewinder provides a good meal for the agile bird. Soon, darkness will fall again, and the temperature in the desert will drop rapidly. Beneath the giant saguaros, animals will become active again as another desert night begins.